Real estate can be a really good investment. Not only you get your returns on an annual basis from renting your home, but you also building up equity. It's good to diversify, you to put all your eggs in one basket. I don't like the word passive income because everybody thinks real estate is a passive income. It is in some sense, but it's not in other sense. It's not how much you earn, but how much you save.
Hello, and welcome to the $100 Real Estate Investor. I'm your host, Sachin Latawa, CEO and founder of Terios. You think investing in real estate is hard? Think again. This is the podcast where we demystify everything about investing. This week, we talk about how to start building your real estate investment empire. You're not going to want to miss this conversation. It's the perfect crash course in economics for budding real estate investors just like you. I'm so thrilled to welcome Cristina Tello-Trillo to the podcast. Cristina is an economist and a real estate investor. She's a senior economist at the U.S. Census Bureau and professor at University of Maryland. Originally from Peru, she has built a portfolio of rental properties while maintaining her career as an economist. Cristina, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, Cristina. I'm really excited to have you on the podcast. You have a fascinating background. You have a PhD in economics from Yale University, and you're working as an economist as the U.S. Census Bureau, as well as an adjunct professor at the University of Maryland. Tell us how your background in economics helps you in your day-to-day financial decisions.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Sachin. I'm super happy to be here. So as you mentioned, I have a PhD in economics, and I will have to highlight it's economics and not finance. So it's a little bit different. Yeah.
Sure.
So economics is kind of like a social science, and it teaches you about how does country and firms supply and demand, how do they produce, how do they consume, how do they distribute their goods. So I got into the investing world from my economic background, right? Because we see a lot of like firm profit maximization, how to firm maximize profit, how the consumers maximize utility. So getting into investment is kind of trying to see how do I could maximize my profit? How do we as a household can maximize our utility or investments, etc.
Right. And do you remember when you made your first investment, Cristina?
Yes. So my first investment was kind of long ago, maybe 2010. So maybe 15 years ago. I invest very little. I started in the stock market. I was a PhD student earning minimum stipend, and I was able to save a couple of $1,000. And then I decided, okay, what do I do with this? How do I make my money grow? And that's what I decide. The stock market seems like a fun and an easy way to start getting things rolling on. And I wanted to learn. I didn't know anything about the housing market when I started investing.
Right.
But I read a lot, and that's what got me into it. Yeah.
And when you look at your stock market investments, when did you start to see yourself as an investor?
To be honest, I don't feel myself as an investor even right now.
Sure.
I have a full-time job in economics and teaching, so that I see myself as an economist, but not as an investor. I think investing is kind of my side gig on the side. I am investing my money in stocks and in real estate. So, but yeah, I don't consider myself as a full-time investor.
Yeah, but that's what it should be, right? When you look at investing, it should be a passive source of income rather than your second and third full-time job. Tell us a little bit about what got you interested in real estate investing, and when did you first invest in real estate, Cristina?
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. So I think I've been always interested in real estate since I was a little kid. My mom and dad are economists. They really are very frugal with their money. And they were they didn't like real estate investment because they always told me, oh, it's very unstable. You don't know what's going on, right? So the way of investing is putting in a CD, a certificate of deposit, and that's it. Let it grow at the current rate, right?
Right.
But for me, that was not enough. That's not really making your money grow, right? So then I start listening to podcasts, informing myself what are other types of investing besides, of course, the stocks that they give you a pretty good return. And then I found real estate. And then I thought, okay, real estate can be a really good investment. Not only you get your returns on a annual basis from renting your home, but you also building up equity, right? So that's two things that sometimes people forget, that it's kind of double return, right? Your equity plus your net cash flow that you get from the home.
Completely, Kristen. I think for us, we look at it and say, especially if it's an income producing real estate, it gives you the yield, which is similar to a bond portfolio, right? You have a fixed rate of return, or at least a cash flow income producing an asset, and is backed by a physical asset, which can appreciate and give you the returns, which are more similar to a stock returns, right? So it is a great investment tool. If you look back, what do you think held you back to start a little bit sooner than when you actually ended up starting? And what gave you the confidence finally to make your first real estate investment?
I would say it's very hard to start. It's very hard to put your foot on the door and say, you know what, I'm going to do this. I would say what got me started, it's actually like a podcast, or one of podcasts like this. I listen to a lot of podcasts while driving to work.
Sure.
There's this particular podcast, and they mentioned that, yeah, they took like their retirement out. They were 40 years old. It was a woman, had 2 kids with a husband. And then they start investing in one home, and how that one home multiplicate to 2, 3 others home, right? So the profit of that home, you could put it investing in 2, 3 homes. And it was super clear the way she explained it. She did it. And I was like, well, if she did it, why can I not do it, right, as well? So that was it.
Sure.
What I call this, like, sometimes in life gives you little rock, give you dirt, but then gives you little pieces of gold. And that was my piece of gold that take me to do something, action in my actual life.
So that was the spark that led to you spending a little bit more time and saying that this is the next step. I can take the following step. And I think you're absolutely right. The 2 major hurdles we hear from most of investors who are looking to invest in real estate is, first, is time consuming. So you still have to do a little bit of work. And for the first time investor, it always feels, are you ready to take your step and go and make the investment and take that plunge? And the second is obviously, which is you need typically $50,000 to $100,000, which is a big hurdle for most of the people. And only 5% of the people in the US actually end up making real estate investment. That's something, again, at Tyrios we're trying to solve for. But looks like you ended up investing your first investment, or you're investing in Rochester, which is one of the markets away from where you live in. Tell us maybe a little bit about what was your thought process in this is the right market for you, and what went into your thinking to say, I want to take and make that first investment here.
As an economist, my main work in my current job is to work a lot with data. So I'm a data geek. I love data. So I did some analysis in which market to invest. So initially, I wanted to invest near my home. So I live in the Washington, D.C. area. So I would look for opportunity here, but every time I look for a home, the rate of return was just so small that it just didn't make sense for me to invest in my area. And then I started expanding the market. Okay, let's look at other cities that are nearby. In particular, I was focusing also on university towns, because my idea was not short-term rentals or Airbnb. My idea was long-term rentals. And, you know, in universities, you always have this crowd of either students or graduate students, visitor professors, that they just want to rent. They don't want to own a home because they're going to be a couple of years in the university. So I was looking at different universities around the East Coast. And then that's where I found Rochester as one of the potential cities that I analyzed. I look at Rochester. It was a great university, pretty solid university, has a lot of healthcare around the university, so hospitals, and a lot of people that want to rent, right? So not only from the university, but also affiliated with the university and the healthcare system. So I thought that was a great idea. And then I look at some measures like the rent to price ratio. So the rents in Rochester are very high relative to the price that you pay for the home. Whereas in DC, the rent to price ratio is super small, right? Rents are high, but houses prices are twice, triple as high, right?
Right.
So it didn't make a lot of sense to invest here. So that was one of why did I pick Rochester? Yeah.
What would you recommend to somebody who's thinking about investing or is not sure if this is the right asset class for them to invest in? What is something that you will tell them in terms of steps they can take towards feeling a little bit more comfortable, as well as making sure they have done enough diligence before they're making their first purchase?
You, of course, need to be informed. Informed people make the best decisions. So inform yourselves as much as possible. Do as much research as possible. Look, if you invest in the stock market, if I invest $100 in the stock market, what will be my rate of return? If I invest $100 in real estate, what will be my rate of return? So look at that what we call in economics the opportunity cost, right? What is the opportunity cost of your money? And then I know, as you mentioned, it's very hard to get that down payment, right? Real estate investment sometimes is like, is $50K or nothing, right? To put a down payment, right? And that's the hard part of real estate. Whereas the stock market is easy. You can invest $100 if you want a stock market. So I know your platform is offering a little bit of that. Just put $100 on real estate, which I find amazing. I think that's one of the big hurdles of real estate, that down payment. And I would say if you have the down payment, then that's another story, right? Then you can compare real estate versus stock markets or versus other way of investing your money, and then see if it works for you, right? For me, Rochester works. I did a comparison, way better my rate of return Rochester. DC didn't work, right? The DC market didn't work, right? So it depends on what market you want to invest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely one of the biggest factors, Christina, the down payment, right? For us, we look at it that it's so much easier to invest in stocks, bonds, crypto. The real estate is the biggest hurdle. It's complex. It's more complex than anything else. Just because you need to know a little bit more. And it also is counterintuitive that everybody tells you to diversify your assets. And in real estate, you're putting all your eggs in one basket when you buy something, right? And you have to time the market well, you have to know, and you have to understand that this is a long-term investment for you, right? If you're trying to make a quick flip, that can be a full-time job. But if you're a passive investor, doing a quick flip is often getting you into hot water, and you might end up losing more than trying to make a quick buck. You have an economics background, and you have done these few times now. You've acquired few properties. What is your thought process in some of the factors you consider, other than maybe price to rent ratio, while you're evaluating this is a good neighborhood, this is a good school district, this is a good block, and this is a good house? How do you frame that in your mind, and how do you compare against different opportunities?
Besides the rent price ratio, I think I look at two things. I look at many things, but I think three things are important to me. Rent price ratio, rental to home ownership rate, right? So if I'm in a city where 99% of the people own a home, I don't want to buy the 1% home because it's probably not going to be able to rent, or it's not going to have a lot of demand because people there want to own homes. They don't want to rent homes, right? So I look at Rochester, for example, there's a 37% ownership rate, whereas the average in the US is around 67%. So it's really low, the ownership rate in Rochester compared to the US average, right? So people tend to rent homes. And then I also look not only to that, but also how long do they stay at homes? Because I want real estate, for my case, my personal case, to be passive income because I have a full-time job.
Right.
So I don't want to change tenants every other year or every single year or every 6 months if my tenant doesn't pay enough. So I wanted to find a place where tenants usually stay for like 5 years or longer. And this is a statistic that you can actually find in like Census website. There's like the average tenure by number of veterans in a particular city, for example. So I also look into that, and for Rochester was 5 years, the average tenure, which I thought was really nice. So people tend to live longer in homes. And then the third thing that I look is how is the city as a whole, right? Is this a city that is dying? Is a city that is booming? Or is a city that maybe is going to be stable for the next 10 years, right? And Rochester, because it's a university town, usually universities has very, very low exit rates. Population in university is always increasing. So you know the university is going to be there next year or in the next 10 years. Very unlikely the university just like goes bankrupt, right? So I look at that. So I know Rochester is going to be there. University of Rochester is going to be there. And also like things like hospital, or maybe if you find like a good manufacturing firm that is solid and there, things like that, that tell you, okay, this is going to be pretty much stable over the next 10 years. I don't think Rochester is going to grow a lot, but it's going to be stable. And that's what I'm looking for.
That's excellent, Cristina. I think, again, data tells you so many different things in real estate, especially. And we do look at the average tenure usually, and gives us surprising data. Typically, rental homes, the tenants are also a little bit more mature. We feel like, right, in our evaluation, typically they might have kids and they are hesitant to relocate just to save $100 as well, right? Which is typically the experience in multifamily. When you're young, every $100, $200 counts. So people are more likely to move in apartments versus rental homes. And that's definitely one of the great criteria you can find in terms of looking at the data. A lot of people, Cristina, are also afraid of making mistakes. And real estate, I mean, it can compound to a big mistake as well. What is the biggest mistake in your experience you have found that somebody could make? And maybe give us an example of one mistake you might remember from your experience, which you would not like to repeat in the future.
A real estate investment is tricky, right? So sometimes you find a diamond as a house, and sometimes you think it's a diamond, but it's not actually a diamond. So I think that's what happened in one of my properties. Properties that usually, when you look at a home, you say, oh, I think this home is nice, the picture looks nice. But you look at the history of the ownership of that home, and usually if you see that a person had the home for a year or less than a year, that means it's a flipper, right? It's a person that bought the home, flipped the home, and then he wants to sell it to you. The flipper just puts a bow on the home, maybe some paint on there, and takes amazing pictures. And the house looks great from outside, but you don't know what's going on inside, right? So I knew that before going in, but I made the mistake because this house seems so good. I hired a contractor that tells me about plumbing, electrical, but still, even with all of that, I found that particular home had like many issues that other home that didn't look so nice and had ownership of like 10 years, or one owner for the past 10 years didn't have, right? So I would say just be careful with flippers.
To your point, Cristina, it depends on the perspective in the house as well. You might also think flipper might have upgraded the house, which was lacking for the care. But you're also right that flipper comes with usually a point of view of short-term returns for them. So they want to get the work done as quickly as possible. Sometimes they do take shortcuts, and inspection usually is a key measure where most people do not take enough care to see that if this is a good investment in the long term for them. I would love your perspective, Cristina, on what you said before, that you started with stock investments. And when you started looking at real estate, you kind of compared the two and thought that real estate might give you a better long-term opportunity. How do you go about thinking about diversification in terms of investing between stocks and real estate? How do you see yourself reevaluating that? Maybe every $10,000 or $100,000 you invest in one stock market or the real estate, how do you feel you will have to go back and reevaluate? Are you overexposed on one side and underexposed on one side?
I love the word diversification. We use diversification a lot. People like to diversify, firms like to diversify, countries even like to diversify, right? So it is good to diversify, you to put all your eggs in one basket. So yes, I completely agree with diversification. So I start with stocks because I started a small amount of money. I couldn't afford a home with just $1,000 or less. So I started there. And then when I got to enough savings, that I decided, I have a lot of savings that I could buy a home and still have some money in my stocks, right? So I still have a stock. So right now I have about 50% in stocks and 50% in investment in my homes. Currently, I have 3 in Rochester and 1 in DC. It's a rental property. And I would like to buy more. I would like to buy 1 every year. That's kind of my goal, right? Depending, of course, on economic conditions. But always trying to think of that ratio. I would not want to put all my money in real estate, right? Or all my money in stocks. Maybe a 60-40 ratio. For me, that will be the ideal scenario. Either 62 stocks or 62 homes ratio. Yes.
And I think one of the things also we see is for an individual investors, investing in real estate offers some leverage that you can use that as an investment opportunity as well. And it does accelerate your performance, especially if you hold it for long periods of time, right? Which is difficult to get for an individual in any other investment class. Investing in real estate, has that changed your perspective on what passive income looks like for you?
I like and I don't like the word passive income because everybody thinks real estate is a passive income. It is in some sense, but it's not in other sense, right? So in my case, for example, I am the one that I decide which property to buy. I have an agent, of course, but the agent is just like, it shows me the house and it helps me with the closing the home. But I'm the one like, I want this property. I want to look at this property. I'm the one that finds the renters. I'm the one that, I'm the property management. So I'm doing all of that. So it doesn't seem passive in that way because I'm kind of active in that sense.
Right.
But it's not taking me 40 hours per week, right? It's maybe taking a couple of, some weeks, 0 hours, some weeks, maybe 1-2 hours. So in that sense is passive. The way I see is like, once I think the first year is very tough because you don't know the home that you're buying. And there might be a lot of things that you need to change in the home because you don't know like the state of the home. But I think after the first year, if you have you have a solid home, you have probably solved the issues of the home. Once you get a renter in, the renter will tell you the issues. Kind of the investment becomes a little bit more passive, like less calls from your tenant, less things to manage. You don't have to find a new renter every year. So it becomes much, much more passive. So that's the way I see it. It's kind of like active at the beginning, but passive towards after the first year.
And I think you have previously mentioned, Cristina, that your husband was initially hesitant about real estate investing. How did you convince him, and what advice would you give to, again, listeners who are hesitant to make their first investment in real estate?
So I don't know if I have convinced my husband or not, because, you know, husband and wife are usually, one says A and the other says B. So I'm investing my own money on Rochester, right? So all the properties in Rochester are my own, but my husband was completely on board with my investment, right? So I basically, he's an economist as well. So I showed him data. Look, this is the return that I have if I put in the stocks. This is the return that I have if I invest the home. Even with, you know, worst case scenarios. So I have an Excel file that puts average case scenario, best case scenario, and then worst case scenario. And my benchmark is kind of always the worst case scenario. So even the worst case scenario is still better than investing in other things like stocks, for example. Then who cannot be convinced with that, right? If I give you that data, you are convinced. Yeah.
So you use your economics background to be able to convince him and appeal
Correct.
to his economist versus an individual emotional side. That's pretty good, Cristina.
Yeah.
You also moved to, Cristina, US when you were quite young. What were the unique challenges kind of you faced as maybe an immigrant, and particularly regarding building your credit or navigating the mortgage for your real estate investments? How did that come about for yourself?
When I was 23 years old, I moved from Peru to the US did my PhD. I would say just for me, the number one priority was to start building credit history in the US, right? So I knew that as soon as I went to the bank and opened my first bank a student checking account. That was the first account that I ever had. Okay, so how can I invest? That was my first. How can I invest money in the U.S.? They tell me, well, you need to have credit history. What is credit history? Like, tell me about it. I have no idea what is that. So then I opened a credit card that same day, a student credit card, and I start building my credit history from there. So I would say you just need to ask. Sometimes weird people are afraid of asking or maybe seem ignorant, but you can ask. You go to your bank and ask this stuff. Ask, how can I buy a house, right? If you don't know how to buy a house, just ask.
Everything can be found online now, which was probably a little bit more difficult when you started and when probably I started as well. What's your favorite money saying or quote or mantra, how you see money, Cristina?
Yeah, so for me, it's not how much you earn, but how much you save. I know a lot of my friends, they earn much more than what I make, but their savings are not as high, right? In United States, even immigrants as myself, they have this culture of consuming, right? Consuming more than what we should consume. So you buy the most expensive car, you buy the designer clothes, you buy the better laptop, the latest iPhone, all of that. And if you do that for 10 years, that's going to add up, whether you like it or not, right? So I think that mentality is like, okay, this is how much I earn. This is how much I want to save. So have that goal and just stick to that goal, right? And buy things that you actually need, not buy things that people have and that are flashy that you don't need.
We definitely, Cristina, also kind of promote that as well, that you don't need millions to make millions in your lifetime in investing returns. One of the things we promote, especially with, again, real estate investing as a mean is if you invest $200 to $300 a month on an average over 30 years, you will be a millionaire if you don't do anything else. So that's the least you would advise anybody to be able to manage or at least aim towards, right? And based on how much you earn, as you said, setting up goals on a percentage of savings versus just saving or investing what's left over is a recipe for disaster for most people. What does money mean to you, Cristina? Because it means different things for different people, right? For some people, having more money means financial freedom, future, opportunity. What does money means for you as you think about it?
For me, money means a stability, right? So I am a person that loves to do many things and I don't get stressed about doing many things, but I don't like to be stressed about money. I want to know that if I get fired tomorrow, I have enough savings to cover me for the next 8 months, right? So that is stability. That's what money means to me. Just have a stability that you have a lot of stressor in your life. You don't want money to be an additional stressor in your life.
On a personal front, Cristina, you've also said previously that you want to eventually build charter schools in Latin America. Tell us a little bit more about what your motivation is for this, to be able to do this.
So I think education is key for success. I had the honor and the privilege of studying in a great university that gave me great education. And because of that, I'm able to have the job that I have. Because of that, I'm able to be informed of real estate, be informed of different way of investing my money. And because of that, I'm able to put my kid so he can have a great education as well. Education is really the key to success in Latin America, where I'm from. That's something that is lacking. There's a lot of kids that do not have proper education, that they just work 11 hours per day, and they're like 5 to 10 year olds, right? So those kids have really, they don't have an opportunity if they don't have an education. So I believe that if I could help establish a better real estate portfolio here in the US, and I have like a more stable, that's key here, more stable income, if I could contribute something back to other countries, to Latin American countries or where I'm from, it will be an honor for me to do that.
That's fascinating. Cristina, we definitely wish you all the best for that. I think it aligns very well with what we do at Tirios as well. So we contribute about 5% of our fee, Christina, towards advancing financial opportunities as well as towards supporting homelessness in the US. Because again, as you're saying, if you have the opportunity to be able to advance education, and I think this is a favorite Nelson Mandela quote that education is the most powerful weapon that you can use to change the world. It's definitely life-changing for a lot of people.
That's great. Yeah, no, for sure. I think I would highlight something. Financial literacy is something that we need so bad in the world as a whole, but especially in the US. So I will advocate for a class that everybody takes financial literacy when they're like high school or something. Yes.
It's fascinating that we don't have it here, right? And across the world as well, not only US, it's some of the basic concepts are not taught in the school. Like how to get a mortgage, nobody tells you that. This actually is a great segue for our next segment, Econ 101 with Professor Tello-Trillo. You have obviously an economics background and you're teaching at University of Maryland. So we wanted to play a fun game, Econ 101, to help our listeners get up to speed on some of the economics concepts, get them up to date on what that means in terms of real estate investing. So tell us you're ready and we'll do a rapid fire round with 4 or 5 of these questions.
Sure, I'm ready.
We'll give you a term and give us a quick definition of the economics term or real estate term as you think about it, and share your opinion, Christina, about the question itself. So the first one is inflation. Is it a friend or foe to real estate investors?
So inflation is the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services that we consume increases over time, right? So inflation is something that we cannot control as a real estate investor. It's something natural. It happens. It's usually about 3% per year, except on some years, of course. For a real estate investor, it's something you have to take into account, right? So, for example, in my case, the way I use inflation for, it's not too much for my investment, but also for my own property, right? So the way that I decide whether should I rent this home right now for $2,000 or should I buy this home, maybe pay $2,100 per mortgage, interest, and such, but have that $2,100 fixed for the next 30 years. What do I prefer, right? $2,000 now and maybe inflation, or $2,100 and fixed for the next 30 years. So if you think about that and you think about inflation, that, inflation, it's something that's going to happen, then that makes your decision easier than maybe the 2,100 fixed for 30 years it's a better decision.
Completely. And I think from an investment standpoint, I'm sure you see that, Christina, is typically inflation. Once you have bought something, inflation might be good for you because you're able to increase rent at least in line with what the inflation is doing. So it gives you a little bit more residual NOI going over and gives your property probably more profitable. Let's go to the second term, leverage. Is it good or is it bad for real estate investments?
I think leverage is good. So leverage is the use of borrowed capital or debt to increase the potential return of an investment. So for example, when you buy a home, if you put 20% down, that's 20% down payment of your own money, and 80% it was your leverage. Your leverage from the bank. You're borrowing that money from the bank, right? That 80%. So it's good because say that I buy a $1 million home, right? I put 20% down payment. That's $200,000 of my own money. $800,000 is from the bank, right? And that home, because of inflation or appreciation, appreciates at 4% rate, right? So $1 million at a 4% appreciation rate, that's around $40,000 of house appreciation per year. That's how much my equity, my home, is appreciated in value, $40,000 per year, which is a lot, right? And that's because I'm leveraging that. That's because I have $1 million of my asset, right? If I decide I'm not going to leverage, I'm just going to use my own money, I can only buy a house that is $200,000 because that's the only thing I have. So instead of a down payment, I put everything like 100% in a $200,000 home. Assume the same appreciation rate of 4%, that only give me an $8,000 house appreciation, right? 4% of 200,000 is $8,000, right? So with leverage, and my asset is able kind of like to multiply. I have 40K of house appreciation. Without leverage, I only get $8,000 of house appreciation.
That's right. And you get a much nicer house as well versus what you were getting with 200,000, right?
That's true. Yeah.
What about cap rate? Do you look for a high or a low cap rate when investing?
So right now, in my case, I look for high capitalization rate, right? So cap rate's kind of a ratio, like your net operating income. So you think about your revenue minus your typical costs, mortgage, insurance, taxes, and maybe maintenance, divided by the current value or the home or the purchase price of the home, right? So I look out for high capitalization rate because I'm very interested in my operating income to be very high, my revenue minus cost to be very high, versus the price of the home to be low, right? So I look for a very high capitalization rate. And in Rochester, I get that, yeah.
What about opportunity costs? What would you suggest for viewers who are looking to make their first investment and maybe are not feeling they are ready to make the investment? How would you describe opportunity cost for them?
So opportunity cost is, as I mentioned before, is the kind of represent the value of their best alternatives, right? So you have $100. Should I put this $100 in the bank, earn 4%? Should I put it in the stock market, maybe earn 10 to 11% per year? Or should I invest in real estate and maybe earns 12% or more per year, right? So that's kind of opportunity cost. What would you do with your money? What's the alternative? If you invest in one thing, that means that you're not going to invest in A, B thing, right? If you invest in C, you don't invest in A, B. That's the way I make decisions, right? My opportunity cost helps me making decisions. So I see my higher rate of return in a real estate. So hence, I decide to invest in real estate and not in other options.
Thank you so much, Cristina, for joining us on the $100 Real Estate Investor. It was fascinating to have you, and I'm sure our viewers will love this conversation.
Thank you so much. It was great, a great conversation. I love it. Thanks, Sachin.
Let's begin with the market snapshot. Right now, we are taking a close look at the state of commercial real estate, a landscape that includes everything from office buildings and shopping centers to apartment complexes, industrial warehouses, and data centers. Real estate is the largest asset class in the world, and the ride since 2020 has been, to put it mildly, bumpy. The key question is now the time to jump in, or should you stay on the sidelines? The last few years have been exceptionally challenging for commercial real estate. The pandemic emptied out offices, shook up retail, and even changed how we think about where we live. However, real estate, like all markets, operate in cycles. And our team at Tirios believes we have actually moved past the bottom of the current cycle for commercial real estate. The higher rate environment of 2022 to 2024 certainly caused disruption. And while rates haven't declined as rapidly as some initially anticipated, our expectation is a downward trend in interest rates over the next few years, which will provide a tailwind for real estate investors. Now, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Every property, every city, every market is a little different. For instance, Class A office spaces continue to attract new investors. These assets are generally holding their own and are in great demand with tenants. Meanwhile, older office buildings, what we call Class B and C, are having a tough time, and their struggle may continue for the next few years as the markets try to find a balance between supply and demand. Data centers, on the other hand, are experiencing a surge in investor interest. The rapid adoption of generative AI by businesses is driving substantial demand for real estate infrastructure that powers these data centers. Turning to the multifamily sector apartments, we are seeing a dynamic shift. Currently, a large volume of new apartment units are coming online, And this abundance in supply has given renters more options and rent declines over the last few months. The peak deliveries of multifamily units are projected for late 2025. However, developers have significantly scaled back new projects over the last 12 to 18 months. And since it's fundamentally about supply and demand, the current oversupply in 2025 is likely to transition to a supply shortage by 2026, leading to fewer apartment units and increase in rents. For investors, there's a really important takeaway here. The recovery we are seeing in commercial real estate isn't just about financial engineering or decline in interest rates itself. It's about real improvements. The underlying assets are generating higher net operating income in most cases. This is a cash flow driven recovery, not fueled by cap rate compression. To draw a parallel to the stock market, it's similar to an increase in stock price due to an increased earnings of a company, rather than an expansion of the price earnings or PE multiple. Now, there are still big questions and uncertainties out there. Things like tariffs could disrupt supply chain and lead to substantial higher building costs. And of course, there's inflation. But there's why real estate can be a good sector to invest during these uncertainties. Leases, especially shorter term, can be adjusted to keep up with rising prices and offer a hedge against inflation. Real estate also offers diversification as its performance isn't directly correlated with stocks or bonds. So, what's the bottom line? Commercial real estate has had a turbulent ride over the last few years, but there are strong signs of a turnaround. While some areas are still recovering, the overall picture is looking brighter, especially driven by improving cash flows. It's a complex market, no doubt, but for those willing to do their homework, it could offer some exciting investment opportunities. Welcome to Real Deals, Real Prizes. This is a game show where I invite a few bold and wannabe investors to test their real estate knowledge. I'll share a few photos of houses on the market today, and our contestants will guess the price. And of course, there are lots and lots of prizes depending on how close to the right price you can get. Today, we have three guests: Lawson, Rohel, and Devin. Can you guys take a minute and introduce yourself? We can start with you, Lawson.
Yeah, sure. Lawson Smith, based out of Nashville, Tennessee. Been involved with Tyrios here for a few years now, and looking forward to the competition.
I'm calling from Austin, Texas. I'm a student at UT Austin studying finance with a great passion in real estate investing, and I'm just happy to be here.
I'm Devin Meller. I am based in New York, New York. I'm a project manager, and though I am not currently a property owner, I do hope to be someday despite the real estate market.
Let's see if we can make that happen today for you, Devin. Today, we will be looking at Texas and playing with the Dallas-Fort Worth Arlington market today. Dallas-Fort Worth Arlington market has a population of over 8 million and ranks fourth in population, only behind New York, LA, and Chicago. This is one of the largest markets for new homes in the country. And as a general background about the market, the median listing price is about $415,950. So you guys can keep that in mind while we go and play. Now, let's roll into it. Let's play Real Deals, Real Prizes. So the first home is located in Arlington, Texas, a little west of Dallas downtown area. It's a 4-bed, 3.5-bath, 2646 square feet living space, 3-car garage, and it's a brand new home built in 2025. It is located in an established community that enjoys a balance of natural green spaces. It's easy to get to the city amenities and vibrant nightlife. The home brings a modern farmhouse feel to central Arlington. Gorgeous white painted brick with sharp black accent trim. Walking into this beautiful home, you're greeted by an office, 2 bedrooms, give privacy for visitors. The surround gas fireplace is centerpiece in the living space and opens to the kitchen and dining. retreat to owner's suite with plenty of room to stretch your legs. The primary bathroom is equipped with standalone, oversized luxury tub and a vast closet. So the schools for this home are middle of the range, 4 out of 10 for primary school, 4 out of 10 for middle school, and about 3 out of 10 for high school. We'll start guessing the price of the home, Lawson, with you for this one. Give us your guess what the price of this home could be.
We'll go with 460,000.
Okay. Rohel, give us your guess on what could be the price of this home.
Hope I'm not off by a lot. I'm guessing 500,000.
Devin, your turn.
All right, I think I'm going to go on the lower end of the guessing field. I'm going to go 425.
Okay, so let's find out what the price of this home really is. The price of this first home is $619,900. Lawson, you missed out just by a little bit, being in the 20% range. So I think one of the things which is obviously when we talk about the median price, that's the entire market, obviously not taking into locations, but also that includes older homes mostly. So the newer homes are obviously priced for a little bit premium. So this one is $619,900. Let's go to the second one. So the second home is located in Frisco, Texas. It is north of downtown Dallas. It's a 5-bed, 4-bath, 4,548 square feet of living space, 2-car garage, and it's also a 2025 brand new home. This is located near shopping, community parks, Frisco Trail System, sports facilities, and playgrounds. All of this makes it an ideal place for growing families. This is a breathtaking new home with a stunning light brick exterior, offering exceptional curb appeal. It offers elegant double iron front doors, grand entry with dual staircases. Inside the spacious and airy vaulted family room boasts beautiful wood floors, a cozy gas fireplace, and it includes formal living dining spaces as well as dedicated home office with French doors. Oak stairs lead to an expansive upstairs game room, loft area, media room, and provides plenty of space for entertainment and relaxation. Gorgeous wood floor flow throughout the home. The luxurious primary suite is a true retreat, featuring a freestanding tub, a frameless glass shower, and a modern sinks. Downstairs is a great suite. Our additional home offers privacy. The chef-inspired kitchen is a dream with the commercial-grade 8-burner gas cooktop. The large island and extra storage space makes it really stunning. And then the elementary school in this is rated 9 out of 10, middle school 10 out of 10, and high school is rated 6 out of 10. So take a minute, and for this one, Rohel, we might start with you. Think about it and give us what's the best price you think this home is worth.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to go 925,000. I am using that price point because 1, after that past home, this is probably a significantly better home, so probably a bump in price. 2, the elementary schools are really, really nice here. And 3, that is just a gorgeous house. So I'll definitely have to bump up that price.
Devin, do you want to take the second shot and guess what you think the price of the home is?
Sure. I mean, it's a lot of space, and those school scores are really high. I don't want to repeat my mistake from last time, so I'm going to go with 1.1 million.
1.1 million.
I don't know the market, so this is a shot in the dark.
Absolutely. Lawson, how about you? What do you think the price of this home could be?
Yeah, from what I know a little bit about Dallas, I know Frisco's a pretty hot area actually, and a lot of growth there. So I think it's actually even higher than my friends here have guessed. I'm going to go with like a 1.7 million.
Okay, Rohel, Devin, do you guys want to change your answer?
Yeah, this is definitely my bias from hearing y'all's answer out. I'll bump it up to 1.1 million as well.
1.1 million. Devin, how about you?
I don't know. Knowing that Frisco's a hot area, I think I'm gonna bump mine up too. I'm gonna go 1.5.
Okay. So 1.5, 1.7 for Lawson, and 1.1 for Rohel. So let's find out what the price of the second home is. The price of the second home is $1,598,160. So Devin, you are right in the hot zone, within 5% range. So we will give you the best price for this one, $500 credit to invest on our Tedious platform. Lawson, you were almost there. So you're still within 10% range. So you'll get $250 credit to invest on Tedious platform. Rohel, you are about there. You could have made it. Maybe next time. Let's take to the next house. So the third home is located in Cedar Hill, Texas. It is a little bit south of Dallas downtown. It's a 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,382 square feet living area. It's a 3-car garage, and it's also a brand new 2025 home. Offers a perfect blend of tranquility and convenience, easy access to pool, DFW International Airport, and AT&T Stadium. It's near hiking and biking trails and is close to vibrant dining and shopping scene. This is a 1-story contemporary residence, features double doors, soaring 12-feet ceilings, and modern upgrades. It offers both comfort and luxury. An open concept kitchen is a chef's dream. Complete with a large California island, gleaming granite countertops, and stainless steel appliances. The vinyl flooring throughout makes for easy maintenance. Outside, a vast wraparound covered patio is perfect for year-round entertaining. Sitting on an 80 feet wide lot, this gym is perfect for those looking to enjoy spacious living. Elementary school for this home is rated at 2 out of 10. Middle school 4 out of 10, and high school 3 out of 10. Let's start, Devin, with you this time.
Okay.
Give us your best guess on what could be the price for this home.
And this is a brand new house. It's not a rebuild.
This is a brand new house as well.
All right. I'm guessing 3-car garage, brand new appliances. I'm gonna go 725.
Rohel, you want to go next? What's your guess on this one?
Honestly, I think I'm learning from my last 2 rounds. I'm definitely gonna go on the higher end this time. Normally I'd guess 600, but new car, a new garage, great house, downtown area, I'm gonna go 700,000 flat.
700,000. Okay. Lawson, how about you?
Yeah, those are 2 pretty good guesses. I think Cedar Hill is a little bit more remote from what I understand, although there might be a lake or 2 nearby, which has some appeal. I think I'm going to go 780,000.
780,000. So let's find out what the price of this home is. The price of this third home is $493,900. So again, I think you guys were spot on early in the process when you were paying a lot more attention towards school districts, right? That's definitely one of the biggest factors. And with new homes, it's school ratings are typically low because that's where the community is starting to build in, and it increases over time, but that definitely impacts the price of the home as well. We will have all 3 of you outside the 20% bracket. Devin, you had a great second guess with $500 one. Lawson, you had a great second one as well with $250. Rohel will give you $100 as a starting bonus to get you starting investing in real estate and hopefully get you more praised on the real estate markets across the country.
Yeah, thank you. Fun show.
Thank you very much.
It's great. Appreciate it.
Thank you everyone for joining us for Real Deals, Real Prizes, and good luck in investing. We'll send you the gift cards and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you everyone for playing. Thank you so much to Lawson, Rohel, and Devin for playing Real Deals and Real Prizes. That's all for this episode of $100 Real Estate Investor. I'm your host, Sachin Latawa. If you learned something new, please go ahead and rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Subscribe to the show on YouTube, drop us a comment or a like. Learn more about Tirios at our website, tirios.ai. Thanks for our production team at Pod People, Amy Machado, Lauren Luco, Danielle Roth, and Kai Lee. Until next time, I'm Sachin Latawa. Go out, research, and start investing with confidence. See you next time. The opinions and views expressed in this program may not necessarily reflect the institutional views of Tirios or its affiliates. The content of this program does not constitute a recommendation from Tirios to the recipient and is provided for information purposes only. Tirios is not providing any financial, economic, legal, investment, accounting, or tax advice through this program or to its recipient. You can find the complete disclosure at www.tirios.ai/podcast/disclaimer.